And welcome to the Daily Space Weather. Smasho here, coming at you with only the most detailed solar imagery you'll find anywhere on the internet, the world over. The most comprehensive space weather you'll find anywhere. We had a decent-sized flare. Was there a coronal mass ejection associated with it? We'll get to it. Here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. So if you look up here at Sunspot 3141, you will see an M5 flare. Exciting stuff. Largest flare we've had in quite some time. That is the imagery from yesterday plus today. That came in just after 0 hour. At about 0 dark 10. As far as sunspots go, they've been mostly stable. We do have some growth in the southern hemisphere. So some new sunspots forming down in the southern hemisphere. This one right near the equator evaporating since yesterday. A little bit of growth with this sunspot group as well. Here's colorized magnetogram from yesterday plus today. Again, we do have some new candidates down here. These do have umbre, these two areas over here and down here. And let's check volcanoes. Shivaluch is erupting, producing pyroclastic flows. A new violent phase of eruption there on the Kamchatka Peninsula from Shivaluch. Dense black ash plumes separated from the current to estimated 4 kilometers of altitude. Abico, 10,000 feet of altitude for the ash plume from Abico. Krakatoa now blasting out some lava bombs and other Strombolian activity. Krakatoa back on the list. Popocatépetl exploding, flight level 200 from Popocatépetl. Fuego in Guatemala exploding, flight level 160. Nevado de Ruiz exploding, flight level 200 over Colombia. 20,000 foot ash plume over Ecuador from Sangay as it explodes. No indication of the size of the ash plume from Revenador over Ecuador. Sabancaya exploding, flight level 240. Please don't pull Volta Caldera. A little bit of an earthquake drought happening here. We are a little bit overdue for a 7+ magnitude earthquake. That's your 90-day bar graph, and thanks for leaving comments, BMVR13 and Tinman 1057. No major quakes over the past 24 hours. Just remember, any earthquake could be a foreshock. South Sandwich Islands had a 5.1. That's one of the largest quakes of the past 24 hours. And one of the most seismically active points on the planet for the past month. A swarm of small quakes has occurred in the Caribbean. Largest quake of the past 24, I think, is this 5.4 at Afghanistan. That at over 103 kilometers estimated depth. Philippines had a 5.2. That one came in at 5:34 this morning. And a decent-sized quake there on the Kamchatka Peninsula. That's a 5.0 coming in at 7:20 this morning, and let's get back to space. So here's some composite imagery. 2 species of ionized iron, 1 species of ionized helium. That is yesterday plus today. And thanks for stargazing with us, as there's no better star to look at than the closest one. Let's get into some more data here. Radio flux now at 131 solar flux units. If you're wondering where it comes from this area right here. The upper chromosphere and lower corona. What is a flux unit? Well, a radio flux unit is 10,000 joules of radio flux density. There is the 1-year graph. The black line is the radio flux. The red line is the sunspot number. And let's continue on here. No space weather storms forecasted here by NOAA, but we might see some geomagnetic unrest here as we've seen a strengthening of the magnetic field and a strong BZ signal, strong negative BZ signal, as you can see here at the moment, a BZ of -8 nanotesla. Let's take a look at Earth's magnetic moment from space for the past 4 hours. We have seen a density spike also, the indication that there's another coronal hole high-speed stream just about here. We can expect to see the density drop and the velocity come up once again with another coronal hole high-speed stream. Anyway, that's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. The units depicted here are nanotesla. So we may see some aurorae suddenly picking up there over places like Greenland, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. That's our ground magnetic perturbations map. KP index currently at 2. We may see this get into the upper 3s here coming shortly, especially if we see that strong negative BZ signal continue. Let's take a look at that. You see the field has just increased, and check it out, the scale has opened all the way up to 40 nanotesla. That would be a very high reading. At the moment, we've got BT of 13 and a BZ of -8. So if that continues, that could turn into geomagnetic unrest. We are also seeing a density spike here. Current solar wind density about 19.5 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed here 385 kilometers per second. So this is the leading edge of another coronal hole high-speed stream. We are expecting the electron flux to dip, the solar wind speed to come up, and the solar wind density to drop down. GOES magnetometers here showing a divergence in the past few hours, as the GOES 17 is right around midnight time, so it's at its lowest reading. The GOES magnetometers for the past 3 days, and let's move to the heliospheric current sheet. Earth remains solidly in a south pole current sheet, shown here in red. Here's your north pole current sheet. And let's take a look at the line of sight plot. By the way, that data is derived from 51 ground-based magnetometers, as well as magnetometers on stereo A and stereo B. There's the solar B field in blue, north solar polar field in green, south solar polar field in red. Let's move to coronal holes. There is our coronal hole line of sight plot. And the current solar wind density spike is caused by this south pole oriented coronal hole right up here. And here's the view from SDO in 211 angstroms. Next, we'll move to sunspots. Again, there are some possible new sunspot groups in the southern hemisphere. We'll show you high-res imagery of that toward the end of the video. So we may see a couple new groups, maybe as many as 3 new groups down here in the southern hemisphere. We have also seen some growth of 3142. This group right here has grown a bit. Most likely place to see major flares would be from 3141. It is quite large and magnetically complex. This is yesterday plus today. We're going to zoom in as far as we can to get all of the sunspot groups. That looks about right. So down here you might see a small group forming, and also one right here, which has degraded a little bit in the past 24 hours. Still might get a name. And let's move to energetic particles. No spikes in the proton flux despite seeing a decent sized flare here. This one was an M5.25. Peak flux was right around 0 dark 10 after midnight universal time. And here is some imagery of that in 94 angstroms. That is the data from yesterday plus today. And let's move to a star chart. If you want to know what's going on above your head, check out in-the-sky.org. Just put in your location. You can make a sky chart just like ours. This is the all-sky chart. As Cygnus sweeps across the northern horizon, we have Mars high in the sky, not too far from Betelgeuse. Two big bright red objects. Betelgeuse, the largest single visible object that is visible to the naked eye. How about a solar system forecast? We've got a full moon coming tomorrow. Let's move this ahead 1 week. That's where things will be in 1 week as Mercury and Venus swing around to slowly return to their prograde mode of motion. Let's take a look at some coronagraphs. So here is yesterday. Great imagery of this comet dropping in and then looking like it's broken up as it goes out of existence, turning to fine dusty particles there as it gets closer and closer to the solar corona. So that's yesterday. Here is today. We do see a little bit of CME activity. Does not appear to be earthly directed. It appears to be off to the southeast, as you can see over here. And let's see if we can find any more information here from Stereo A and the Soho-Lasco C3. And the answer is not really. That's not very helpful at all, is it? The Soho-Lasco C3. I don't see anything likely to be earthly directed here. There's some more images from the Space Weather Prediction Center. And let's continue on. Number of filaments is still incredibly high. The likelihood of major coronal mass ejections in the sort of earthly vicinity is also very high. Look at how many filaments up here in the northwest. Also down in the south central portion of the solar disk. Lots and lots of filaments. They won't all stay there. They'll either collapse or end up blasting through the solar system. That is the imagery from El Teide, Spain's ground-based solar observatory, by the way. And how about the GOES 16 SUVI for the past few hours, the past couple hours? Do have a little prominence happening over here in the west. And how about some more imagery here from SDO? This is 304 angstroms yesterday plus today. And let's get into bonus features. We've got major satellite charging hazards at the moment. Check it out. You may see some communications failures as a result of all of that internal charging hazard. Look at that. All around the world, some internal charging hazards there. South of the equator there, yowzers. That is high energy electrons making it inside of this circuitry of satellites. And also some building up on the outside of satellites in the Central Pacific. So significant charging hazards there. Don't be surprised to see some communications breakdowns as a result of that. Although we are expecting the electron flux here to dip. As this coronal hole high-speed stream arrives, there is the GOES electron flux for the past 3 days. And indeed, you can see a dip there, at least a fleeting dip in the GOES 17. Here's the forecast model. NOAA forecasting a small decrease in the electron flux. We'll have to see what happens. The green boxes are the forecast. The yellow diamonds are the observation. There's the one-year graph to put it in context. That's from Solon.info. Solon.info. Next, we'll show the F ionosphere layer located at about 300 kilometers of altitude. This is the vibrational frequency of the bridge between Earth and space. The bridge between Earth and space. The heck? And here is the anomalygram. We've got lots of low frequency anomalies happening in the northern hemisphere mostly. And there's the latest image. That's 11:15 Universal Time, ionogram and anomalygram. Continuing on, we'll show the total electron content over the U.S., North America, actually. Your GPS satellite's located at about 12,500 miles of altitude, and these are the free electrons between it and your GPS handset. Those free electrons can cause signal refraction. And that's what we're looking at with the total electron content forecast. Here's the standard deviation. And here is the anomaly. Nothing looking too crazy there as far as the electron content. Next, we'll pull up the latest intensitygram and latest colorized magnetogram. First thing we should do is check out this group. Yowzers. Those are some seriously large ombre. New group forming over here. That one might get a name soon. This is Beta Gamma Delta class. And again, we do see a new group likely to get a name here. about one more series of SDO images before we move into meteorology. Tropical system approaching Florida once again, folks. That is yesterday plus today from SDO in 3 species of ionized iron. And before we get to meteorology, let's pause for station identification. Welcome to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, where we don't cite any propaganda, fraud, or nonsense. We state facts. I know. Facts. Can you imagine that such a thing? Whew. It is 2022. I realize facts are controversial, but we will keep citing them on the Twitter page until we are indeed banned, which I assume will not happen. However, censorship is certainly not fixed. It's just as pathetic as it was last year. And don't forget, folks, Elon Musk believes a lot of nonsense. So, of course, I keep seeing a lot of the nonsense because I keep seeing tweets from accounts that I'm not following. Anyway, you can find our links there. Social media, just as pathetic as it's been, and if you think it's fixed, think again. Twitter barely functions. If you don't have an account, get one, at least for the lulz. Make sure you follow us over there, twitter.com/smashomash. And of course, thanks to all of our YouTube viewers for tolerating the pathetic censorship on the YouTube platform over the past pushing 6 years. Press like, press subscribe, press share, tell your friends and foes, leave a comment. Even if it's not a nice one. It will not hurt my feelings. We encourage you. One of the links you'll find on our homepage is to SureMed, which is not insurance. It's an association membership with the American Better Health Organization. I'm a member. I think it's great. I think it's worth it just for the doctors by phone. There are also virtual veterinarians, discounts on dental and vision, discounts on your pharmacy items, and lots more. Just with a base membership, also, the group allows you to purchase group insurance with zero underwriting. The American Better Health Organization, DBA SureMed, focused on improving the health of people just like you. Links on the homepage there, as well as on the Smash Team page, as well as below the video. Smashomash.com/SmashTeam is what we've replaced Patreon with. Well, because we needed superior capabilities. And now we have them. Give Smash staff a raise. Join at the silver or gold level thanks to our producers who have done so. The best value is the gold annual paid-up subscription. There's even a bronze level for those of you unwilling or unable to open your cobweb-encrusted wallets and send us a few bucks per month, since we are paid just this side of nothing to put the content on YouTube. In any case, welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Congratulations on realizing that the channel exists. It's only the most comprehensive space weather and detailed imagery of the sun you'll find anywhere in the known universe. Smashomash.com. Help us out with clicks. Find us on social media. Tell your friends and foes. Another link you'll find on the homepage is the link to Hemp Lucid, which, by the way, has already begun its Black Friday sale. So save 40% site-wide. The products make fantastic gifts. And we've actually done a review on some of the packaging and so on for the Delta 8 gummy cubes and lots more. Most popular being the water-soluble CBD tincture. Also reishi mushroom products, lip balm, and tons more. Links below the video as well as on the homepage, also to the Smasho merch. Smasho merch. These are in order of best selling. Of course, there are words on there that we will not use because we're not permitted to use them, as we prefer the videos to remain monetized and not banned from YouTube. Speaking of being banned, today's featured product is Google. Are you still using it as a verb? Are you still using it as a search engine? I stopped using Google as a search engine in 2012 when I realized I had to go 14 pages deep to find a URL that I searched for. That was when I realized I was getting biased internet search results, so I stopped using it because it doesn't work. It's completely broken, and it's on purpose because it is to obtain biased search results. Eric Schmidt talked about shadow bans with Business Insider all the way back in 2011 in an article that has since been scrubbed from the internet. Yes, he described shadow bans before there was a word for shadow bans. So if you're using Google as a verb, understand that what it actually means is to obtain biased search results by using the Google Junkware search engine to obtain information about someone or something on the World Wide Web. Use a real search engine, or at least use multiple search engines, especially if you're using Google, because don't trust and do verify. So here is a meteorology segment, and there is a huge amount of cloud-based moisture in the western Atlantic at the moment, as you can see right there. Yowzers. That is a lot of moisture, and it is headed right toward southern Florida. We'll show you the forecast on that here momentarily. There you can see that counterclockwise rotation happening there over the eastern Caribbean. Here are your surface wind maps for the eastern world. Jet streams for the east, jet streams for the west. By the way, there's a snow forecast for like 4 feet of snow for large portions of California. There is the surface wind scenario for the western world as a strong low hangs out off the coast of Washington. Here is the surface wind scenario for the central world and the jet stream scenario as well. So looking at our weather.gov map, well, we're not there yet. We're still looking at shortwave radiation as the sun rises over the Atlantic. This is what's going on in terms of clouds and fog. And here is your weather.gov map, and you can see tropical storm warnings, gale warnings, small craft advisories, etc., all up the East Coast. Also, winter storm warnings over large portions of California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. If your county's lit, click your county. We'll scroll down to briefly show you the key here. There is the color key. It is weather.gov. Again, if your county's lit, click your county. Or if you're going to be on the water, click your location to get your warning. So here's your accumulated snow depth change forecast, and check out the snow depth. Calling for it looks like over 4 feet of snow here for large portions of California. So that is quite a bit of snow, to say the least. It's only the 7th day of November. Apparently Al Gore was incorrect. Snow is not going to be a thing of the past, as there is quite a lot of it. The entire northwestern portion of the country will remain blanketed. Also, 2 feet plus snow there expected for portions of Montana and Idaho. Here's the full map view of the pressure and precipitation forecast, and you can see this low. It's going to head right over the Bahamas and then crash right into southern Florida. That is a GFS 72-hour pressure and precipitation forecast. We'll do more in-depth forecasting of that as it gets a little bit closer to give you an idea of whether we expect it to be stronger or weaker than expected. It all has to do with things like wind currents and sea surface temperatures. So here's your precipitation type, and there's a lot of white. That is indeed snow, and there's also some wet snow there showing up as green. Let's move this forward 3 days. By that point, snow will have moved over toward the Dakotas. That is the European model, by the way. For snow depth, European model forecasting more like 3 feet of snow for California. So a little disparity there in the GFS versus European model for snow depth. Next, we've got your NASA Goes Lightning Mapper, as we do on most days. Some Central American lightning happening there. And you can see some lightning on the eastern edge of this forming tropical low. Here's your current lightning mapper from lightningmaps.org. It's a real-time lightning map. And we ain't got no terrestrial strikes in the U.S. at the moment. Although indeed some around southern Mexico. Here's a U.S. Doppler radar map. We'll focus on the lower 48. And I think we're missing our clouds and fog. Give me a moment here. We've got to refresh. So there's clouds and fog. There is water vapor. Some rapid cloud nucleation happening here over eastern Arkansas. High pressure system over a large portion of the Midwest. That is some dry, massive air there. And you can see this low building here. There is some dry air mixed in with that. That will not help to strengthen things, but we will be keeping you apprised of what's going on with that system in the Eastern Caribbean in the coming days. Here's your recap. U.S. Doppler radar. Shortwave radiation showing clouds and fog. And last but not least, the water vapor. Thanks for tuning in to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And may that solar wind be at your back.